Somewhere within the doldrums in the depths of this really freaking annoying suspended NBA season and this really freaking annoying quarantine, I was able to find some very fascinating news involving the Brooklyn Nets. And no, it has nothing to do with Kevin Durant having COVID. It has to do with some rumors that I personally anticipated for quite some time that I was surprised that we never talked about. It validates some of the things that Kyrie Irving has said in the past, and I can't wait to share it with you guys. But before we get to all that, what's going on, guys? Your boy TheFlightMike back again with some NBA news. Guys, I have absolutely missed making content for you guys, but there was simply no news to make for quite some time, and I don't really make videos unless if there is news to report on. I do my best to bring you guys the news, and I didn't want this to turn into a channel where I reported on player illnesses, so I apologize for the 4-day hiatus, but given our times, this is what we have to deal with. So really quickly, guys, if you're new to my channel and you love basketball content, you want all the latest and greatest basketball news delivered to you as soon as possible, please take a moment to drop a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. I also have two other channels, one for football, which is called Microphone, and one for soccer called Flight FC. And finally, I am trying to make Twitch streaming an actual thing in my free time. I'm trying to do everything I can in every spare moment I have to engage you guys. So if you happen to be a huge fan of mine and you want to ask me some questions, come on through to my Twitch stream later on tonight. We're actually going to be giving away PayPal or money to anyone in the stream every hour. My Twitch is in the description down below. And I'm also posting TikToks to try to keep you guys entertained on my TikTok as well. So guys, if you remember a couple of months ago, I absolutely went off on Kyrie Irving. And I know I'm Kyrie Irving's harshest critic, but first of all, I absolutely love Kyrie Irving. I love his game. I think he's a gifted player. I just think sometimes the way he handles the media is fairly questionable. Same with Kevin Durant. I think he's one of the most gifted athletes of our time, but sometimes he doesn't really handle the media very, very well. So a couple of months ago, back around January 16th, 2020, Kyrie Irving and the Brooklyn Nets faced off against the Philadelphia 76ers, and at the time, the Philadelphia 76ers were trending upwards, whereas the Brooklyn Nets were having a very tough season. You see, Kyrie Irving was on the court and then off the court, and then, the Brooklyn Nets approached him and said, hey, do you want to get surgery on your shoulder that you're complaining about, or do you want to try to get a cortisone shot and play on it? Kyrie Irving opted for the cortisone shot, which, by the way, I was very against. I didn't think there was any reason for him to get the cortisone shot and play because Kevin Durant was out and the Brooklyn Nets wouldn't have been a contender with him anyways, but I digress. They ended up playing the Philadelphia 76ers, and there was this weird narrative surrounding Kyrie Irving as well about the fact that the Brooklyn Nets were fairly successful without him. It was very strange. They weren't doing amazing, but they were doing pretty decent without him. And then once he returned, they weren't doing as well. So at the time, the Brooklyn Nets were going 1 win and 2 losses with him, including the loss to the Philadelphia 76ers. And then Kyrie had this to say to the media. He said, it's transparent, it's out there, it's glaring in terms of the pieces that we need in order to be at that level. I'm going to continue to reiterate it. We're going to do the best with the guys that we have in our locker room now, and we'll worry about all the other stuff in terms of moving pieces and everything else as an organization down the line in the summer. It's just something that we signed up for. We knew what we were coming into at the beginning of this season. Guys were going down left and right. Garrett Temple is out. DeAndre Jordan just got hurt tonight. Wilson is coming back. We've got complementary young guys as well that have done a great job over the last 3 years. Collectively, I feel like we have great pieces, but it's pretty glaring that we need 1 more piece or 2 more pieces that will complement myself, Kevin, DJ, GT, Spencer Dinwiddie, Karras, Levert, and we'll see how that evolves. You have to understand, the Brooklyn Nets during this time with Kyrie, they were 5 wins and 9 losses. Without him, they were 500, 13 wins and 13 losses. And then if you look back at the Boston Celtics last year, with Kyrie, they won 37 games and lost 30 games. And without Kyrie, they won 12 games and lost 3 games. Now, there's this whole narrative surrounding Kyrie about, okay, maybe you are the problem at this point because you're causing drama everywhere you go. And my number one issue with Kyrie Irving at this point was, okay, how could you say all of this when Kevin Durant hasn't even come back yet? You saw what Paul George and Kawhi Leonard have done once they were able to team up together and share the court together, surrounded by great role players. And essentially, Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are in a very similar situation. Jarrett Allen, Karras, Levert, Spencer Dinwiddie, Wilson Chandler, those are all great pieces. Those are great complementary role players. Like, if you compare that team to the Clippers that have Lou Williams, Montrezl Harrell, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Ivica Zubac, Marcus Morris, amongst other role players, they're fairly similar. They're both fairly deep teams. So I absolutely went off on Kyrie Irving for coming out and saying that the Brooklyn Nets need an additional player when they didn't even gauge the full potential of their roster as is. Again, Karras LeVert had a game this past year where he went off for 51 points against the Boston Celtics, literally in the beginning of March, earlier this month. So he's shown that he has the stuff to be a complimentary role player for the Brooklyn Nets. He improves year after year. Same with Spencer Dinwiddie. But regardless of all of this, regardless of how I feel, it appears as if the Brooklyn Nets are making some moves and they have some interesting plans for us. The first one is about their coach. They're expected to pursue a blue chip coach, according to Brian Windhorst. And every single thing I'm saying to you guys for this video is, for the most part, according to Brian Windhorst in a podcast that he said. So according to Windhorst, he said one of the things that have been expressed is that Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving would like a blue chip coach. I don't know what this says about the way they thought about Kenny Atkinson, but they want a big name coach, meaning they want a Tom Thibodeau. So the names that are popping to mind is Tom Thibodeau, Jeff Van Gundy, Stan Van Gundy, and Mark Jackson. And those are the top names that pop into my head. I don't exactly know what you consider to be a blue chip coach. In my mind, and call me old school or ridiculous, I think this is kind of outdated, but Phil Jackson is like the only coach that has a championship pedigree that you might be able. I don't even think you can lure him. He's so old that I don't know. There's no coach on free agency that will have like a championship pedigree that pops into my mind. So I don't know who they would pursue there. I don't know what's considered to be a blue chip coach. But even furthermore, what's really interesting, and this is consistent with what Kyrie Irving was saying, and this is why I gave that entire introduction about how Kyrie Irving felt about the Brooklyn Nets, is apparently, according to Brian Windhorst once again, the Brooklyn Nets are planning to use some of their young talent to acquire a third star to play with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. And Windhorst continues to say, now we can get into a healthy debate here about whether Karras LeVert is that third star, and they make the decision that he is. But my feeling, paying attention to what Sean Marks has said, and also being aware of some conversations that they had at the trade deadline, which was sticking the toe in the water on some things, I think they're going to swing for the fences when the season comes. They're going to have to potentially hire a coach that is also going to help them do that. Now, bear in mind, the two biggest trade chips the Brooklyn Nets currently have has to be Karras LeVert and Jarrett Allen. Jarrett Allen is a young, shot-blocking center that just oozes potential. He's the traditional center. I don't know if he's really proficient at hitting those jump shots, but he's a shot blocker. He could catch alley-oops. He's pretty much everything you need on the interior, but he can't really step out and hit that three-pointer for you. But Spencer Dinwiddie is like the prototypical point guard that you would want coming off as the sixth man on a championship roster. So it's the age-old question, should the Brooklyn Nets sacrifice depth for another star player? And you could go either way with this. I don't think there's a correct answer to this. If you ask me, given the star players they would possibly be pursuing, I think they should see what they could do currently with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, because the players that might be available to trade for are players like Bradley Beal and Drew Holiday. And I think they're phenomenal players, don't get me wrong, and I feel like they'd fit in perfectly with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. But if you look at what they're good at, Bradley Beal is a shooting guard that specializes in scoring. That's what Kyrie Irving does. Drew Holiday is kind of the same, except, he spots up a little bit more. He might be able to be a better fit. But is it really worth sacrificing all of that depth in order to potentially get yourself Drew Holiday or Bradley Beal? I'm not exactly sure who they are targeting here, but I'm just saying Does it really make sense for the Brooklyn Nets to sacrifice Spencer Dinwiddie, Karras, Levert, and Jarrett Allen just so they could get themselves another player that would marginally, in my opinion, improve their starting five? At the end of the day, there's so many touches to go around in the starting five. You already know Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are going to be hoarding most of the usage out of that starting five. So you might as well just do your thing, surround them with shooters and great players on defense, and just let them go to work. I don't think they need anything more. I don't know why Kyrie Irving feels like they need anything more. So let me know in the comment section down below. Do you think that the Brooklyn Nets sacrificing their depth, sacrificing their role players is absolutely necessary in order to win a championship? Because if you ask me, there's only one clear-cut team in the Eastern Conference that I believe will make it all the way to the NBA Finals, and that is the Milwaukee Bucks. And if you look at the Milwaukee Bucks, they have one really freaking good player, possibly, in my opinion, this league's MVP in Giannis Antetokounmpo, and they surround him with phenomenal role players, although some of them are a little overpaid and some of them make all-star games like Chris Middleton. But for the most part, he is the star on that team. He doesn't need another star. And he's just surrounded by a phenomenal supporting cast and a blue-chip head coach in Coach Bud. By the way, I think the world of Coach Bud. I think he's a brilliant mind. Any guy that has sat behind Greg Popovich for 20 plus years I'm automatically a huge fan of. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Make sure that you guys attend my Twitch stream later on because you can make yourself some money. The link is in the description down below. I'm your boy, TheFlightMike, and I'll catch you guys in our next upload, hopefully sooner rather than later.